Welcome to the Podkey summary of what's new in Xcode 27 from WWDC 2026. Xcode 27 feels like Apple looked at all the little frictions developers put up with every day and started sanding them down. The big themes are customization, faster prototyping, much deeper agent help inside the editor, and a smoother path from writing code to testing, tuning, and shipping it. There are also some genuinely practical upgrades for device management, localization, performance debugging, and Xcode Cloud that make the whole toolchain feel more connected. One of the most visible changes is the new toolbar. Xcode 27 takes a lot of the historic navigation controls, editor controls, and activity info and puts them into a toolbar that you can fully rearrange. You can add items, remove items, move things around, and basically shape the top of the app around how you actually work, instead of adapting to a fixed layout from years ago. That may sound cosmetic, but if you live in Xcode all day, shaving off tiny bits of visual friction matters more than it sounds. Alongside that, there's a new appearance panel where you can tune text intensity, background gradients, and even set themes per project. Per project themes are especially nice, because if you've ever had 3 similar codebases open at once, any visual cue that stops you from editing the wrong one feels like a gift. Apple also made it easier to just start messing around with an idea. From the File menu, you can create a blank, unnamed project with one click, try things out, and either save it later or toss it, without getting pestered by prompts. That sounds small, but it changes the mood of the tool a little. It gives you a place to experiment without committing to a whole project identity before you've written line 1. And if someone sends you a single Swift file, opening that file can launch a full workspace with playground results and UI previews. So lightweight idea sharing gets a lot smoother. It's not just a lonely file in a text editor anymore. It can act like a proper little workspace right away. The AI story here is less about a flashy chatbot and more about giving coding agents a real place to work inside Xcode. There's a dedicated toolbar button that opens agent conversations directly in an editor pane, which means they can live in tabs, side-by-side splits, and the same workspace flow as your code. That matters because you can inspect code changes and generated artifacts right there, instead of treating the agent like a separate tool off in another window. The /plan command is the most interesting part. You can draft a detailed plan, have the system spawn sub-agents for parallel work, review the plan before anything happens, leave inline feedback, and then let the agent apply changes. And all of that stays visible on the right-hand side, so the process is much less mysterious than the usual "trust me, I changed some files" vibe. Device Hub is another very practical cleanup. It brings simulators and paired physical devices into one sidebar, so you're not bouncing around between different mental buckets for testing targets. When you open a simulator window, it's sized to the device, and you get quick actions like home, screenshot, and rotation right there. There's also an expandable inspector for deeper evaluation, plus support for dynamic testing of accessibility settings, resizing, and iPhone mirroring on macOS 27. This feels like one of those features that won't make a flashy headline, but for anyone repeatedly checking layouts, accessibility behavior, or cross-device quirks, it could save a surprising amount of time. Localization gets a big assist from the agent system too. A coding agent can scan the project, generate a string catalog, and produce context-aware translations for languages like Spanish and simplified Chinese. Developers can also trigger bulk translation generation from the catalog and watch the progress in the agent chat. The useful part here is that it fits into the existing project structure instead of feeling bolted on. And Apple pairs that with a reality check. Validate those translations through test flight feedback from native speakers. Which is a nice reminder that fast translation generation is great, but somebody who actually speaks the language should still get the final word. Organizer is getting smarter about surfacing what matters. Xcode 27 adds storage metrics and animation hitch metrics, and the redesigned overview puts high-impact issues front and center. That is, hierarchies and charts now live together on a single screen, which makes it easier to connect the symptom with the evidence instead of hopping between views. On top of that, agents can generate actionable performance recommendations directly from the diagnostic data. So instead of just showing you that a regression happened, Xcode can help guide you through what changed and how to iterate toward a fix. Instruments also gets a very developer-friendly upgrade with the new Top Functions view. It immediately highlights the most time-consuming functions, which makes it much easier to zero in on expensive work, like a physics simulation loop running way more iterations than it should. That kind of direct visibility is huge because performance tools are powerful, but they can also be a little intimidating when you're staring at a wall of data. Processor trace integration and run comparison help close the loop. You can make a fix, compare runs, and verify that the hitch is gone, and battery usage improves, instead of just crossing your fingers and calling it optimized. And finally, Xcode Cloud sounds a lot less fussy to set up. The new guided flow connects your repository, lets you pick tests, and starts the first build with a single click. From there, Cloud builds can run in parallel across multiple devices, OS versions, and Xcode releases. Results then feed automatically into TestFlight and the App Store, which makes the whole CI and delivery path feel more like one continuous pipeline instead of a bunch of handoffs. That's probably the quiet theme running through all of Xcode 27. Fewer disconnected steps, fewer awkward context switches, and more of the workflow living in one coherent place. So the headline here isn't one giant magic feature. It's that Xcode 27 seems much more willing to adapt to the way developers actually work. If that means fewer prompts, fewer detours, and fewer moments spent hunting for the right button, that's a pretty good release. And honestly, any update that helps you avoid editing the wrong project at 11 p.m. has my respect. This episode was generated by Podkey. Create your own at podkey.fm.